Hello, welcome back to another episode of Dear Work Wives, helping to create work cultures that don't suck. I'm Adrienne.
And I'm Emily.
And we're here to cheer. Not really. Just
okay.
rhyme. How's it going?
It is going, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just going. We're just going to leave it at that today. Not every day is sunshine and rainbows. Today is a day that's not sunshine and rainbows,
Yep. I get it.
Yeah. I have PMDD, which is premenstrual diagnosed something. I can never remember the DD stand for. Anyway, It basically just means that my PMS is it's like PMS times 100. It's very, very extreme. Anxiety, frustration, rage. So, that's this week. So it's great.
Well, you should tell your story about the work part of it, because I feel like that's relevant to work culture. And you hadn't shared, you've known this for a while and you hadn't shared, and then finally you shared, and what came of that?
So I didn't want to share because there's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding that PMDD is just regular schmegular PMS, and every normal levels of PMS are already really challenging for a lot of women to deal with, people to deal with. But PMDD is more than that. There's more anxiety, depression, frustration, and a lot of fatigue, lack of focus. It's really challenging for me to get my work done on those weeks. And I hid it for as long as I possibly could because I'm a perfection. I don't want people to see me as anything but great. But I couldn't hide it for much longer. So I talked to our project manager at Run Like Clockwork about it, because I was going to miss a deadline, which is not something that I do very often or really ever. I will stay up late, get up early to make sure I don't miss deadlines, but I was going to miss a deadline. And I told her, this is what's really going on. And she was like, okay, well, good thing it doesn't matter. And can be done. You can be done when it's done. We have lots of time because we always give very generous deadlines. And she's actually going to work with, when she project manages out our tasks, she's going to work with my cycles to kind of help me balance my workload in and out of those 4 weeks. Following my 4-week cycle. I think most women know that our body follows this is generalized, but a 4-week schedule with our hormones. We have weeks where we're more creative, weeks where we're more struggling. For me, the week before my period it's impossible for me to do anything except I can show up for meetings and I can be live on calls. But if you give me a computer and tell me to complete a task, it's probably not going to happen, if I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. So we're going to try our best, it's not going to be perfect, but try our best to manage my workload to follow that schedule, which I'm excited. This is only the first month of trying it, and it is what it is. But it's hard sometimes. This week is a particularly challenging week for a lot of reasons beyond all of that as well. So I think it's just one of those weeks, Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't just take every 4th week off. I wish I could, but it doesn't work like that.
But I think it's a good balance of, being willing to share and then figuring out what types of work are better suited for this type of week for you, and being able to, for the most part, we can try to accommodate that at Run Like Clockwork. And that there are some things that we can't, but at least those are maybe limited on these weeks, and you're able to plan better. And so I think it's just a good lesson and message in sharing and advocating for yourself. But first of all, I think figuring out what you need, what do you even need, so that the sharing is purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because there's no point to just share and then expect someone else to make some sort of accommodation when they don't really know what you need, right? Versus you kind of learning more about yourself and about oh, this is the type of work that's really hard for me on those weeks. These are the types of things that are maybe a little bit easier for me. on those types of weeks. So can we juggle some things around? And
Yeah.
it was possible for the most part. So
Yeah, and it's also something I can manage. Like if I have a lot of copy to write and I will always know weeks in advance and I know what's coming, then I'll double up on another week just to make sure I can stay ahead of the game. Like it's my responsibility, of course, to manage this. But I think that sometimes like I want to share, but also I don't want to have to share everything. So I think it's really hard sometimes to find that balance, you know? Like I want to be
yeah.
authentic and share, but also I want to be more than a diagnosis sometimes, you know? And we had our team had an Enneagram call yesterday and we were kind of talking about how like sometimes like maybe I'm a little bit toxic, but I'm like sometimes it's just like shut up and do it. Like you just got to put your head down and like get through it. At least for me, because that like not doing that actually induces more anxiety. Like just disconnecting and be like, oh, it'll be there when I come back. That's worse feeling for me. You know? It's like
Right.
doing nothing actually just means it's piling up on the other end. So what can I do to like stay, you know, afloat essentially? It feels better to me than, you know, maybe your body just needs blood. It's like, maybe it does, but like that's not what my brain needs. So, you know, balancing like generalized anxiety with other things can be really challenging, I find.
Yeah, so it's like figuring out what makes me feel better, what makes me feel worse, what gives me more anxiety versus just listening to the masses or like the typical, here's what you should do. Like, yeah. Sure. In a non-capitalistic society, I would love to just lay around and rest.
Yeah.
Like,
take every 4 weeks off.
The reality is I still have to work, right? So, and even though I love the work that I do, it's still work sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
So
I feel you.
It still sometimes feels like work. And there's sometimes when I would rather watch Below Deck on Bravo, but I need to get things done.
Yeah, I'm so behind.
Even though I like the work that I do. So I think that these two things are not mutually exclusive, you know?
Right.
Like I had this conversation about this Alex Hermosi post that people
blew
did
up.
not like.
I mean, a lot of people loved it and a lot of people didn't. So
a lot of people did not. So, and part of what people were like trying to emphasize for me was, you know, part of his post said you should, you know, be doing work that you don't need a vacation from, you know, so that you don't need a weekend. And I'm like, yes, and right, like that's not a complete thought because I have work that I love. I love my work. There's very few things I would rather be doing besides like maybe working at the zoo and like petting animals or something.
Being on
you
safari.
know, like being on safari, right? So there's like very few things in the world that I would rather be doing than this. And when you do too much of something, there is even something that you love, there is such a thing as too much of it, right? Like and working every weekend or not taking vacations just because you love your work, like I just think it's unrealistic. And I think that the reality is sometimes work is still work, and sometimes I would rather just not be working, and my brain needs that rest, like not be working, even if I love my work, and taking breaks from my work allows me to love my work even more, right? Versus resenting it or feeling burned out by it or feeling a lack of creativity or a lack of innovation around my work because I'm constantly doing my work. So I just think that that message is a little bit incomplete, you know, like, yes, I want everyone to do work that they love. And I still don't think it's a realistic message to just because you have work that you love to be doing it 24/7. It's like the kid in Matilda. I always use this example. You know that movie Matilda? And like he loves chocolate cake, right? So then Miss Trunchbull. Miss Trunchbull is like, his punishment for something is that he has to eat an entire chocolate cake in front of everyone. I think he's like stole a piece of chocolate cake or something. I forget
Right.
what his crime was, but now he has to sit there and eat the entire chocolate cake, and he cannot leave until he's finished. And it's like, at a certain point, it becomes nauseating, right? Like, even though he loves chocolate cake, he's willing to steal it or whatever it was, but
Yeah.
not when you have too much of it. Like,
I
no one
know.
wants that.
It's such a weird,
Um,
like, loving something so you don't need a break from it doesn't mean you do it all the time.
right.
Like, I love my children, and like
I
we
need a
all
break.
benefit. We all benefit from different experiences
Mm-hmm.
with different people, separate from each other
Yeah.
from time to time.
But I mean, also, like, I mean, safari, that's a good example of, like, it's truly the one thing I love so much in the world. Like, I love being on safari. If you don't know, like, I lived in South Africa for a short stint and trained and certified to be a safari guide. It's something that I absolutely love doing. And I can also imagine a world where if I had to do it all the time, if it was my work every single
Yeah,
day, there might be some days where I'm like,
I really don't want to
okay,
go.
I need a break.
Yeah,
You know?
like it's raining and I don't
Or
want
like,
to do
I
it
just
today.
like the work of safari is guiding people and making sure you're giving them a good experience, you know? So, like, sure, I might want to go on safari every day, but leading safari every day is very different, like,
Yes.
than just being on safari every day. So I would still need a break from that, you know, even though it's truly, I would say, the one thing I could imagine loving more than anything else. But
Mm-hmm.
no. So I just think the message is flawed, and I wanted to share that. I don't know how we got here, but here we are.
Nothing beats a good tangent. But no, I think to answer your initial question, I'm here. And I love doing this. I
All the
love
way back
doing
to
this
that.
podcast, so I'm happy to be here. But like I think it's okay to just be like, yeah, you know, this is not the week, but that's okay. We're going to make it incredible for the next however long, 40 minutes.
That's right.
Yeah. What about you?
You want to talk
You're going
about
on vacation tomorrow.
I'm going on vacation, a real vacation. Well, I don't know if I'd call it a real vacation because we're just going to Tennessee to see Tyler's mom, which I think most people would agree, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, it's like you're visiting family. It's not really like
It's a trip.
I'm not going. Yeah, it's a trip.
Yeah.
But we are going to have some family fun, like Chattanooga. We're going to Chattanooga, and it's a good family town. So we're excited. And just
You're going to be unplugged from clockwork. You're going to see end your work lives, and you're going to see some fall leaves. So
hopefully,
maybe wear a sweater.
I'm packing the kids. I've been packing the kids' clothes. Kit, I have like basically no long sleeve stuff for because she's grown out of everything. Coco, I have all of the hand-me-downs from Kit. So we're in good shape, but it's supposed to be like pretty cool while we're there. So we'll just, you know,
just go shopping.
Bundle her up. She'll be fine.
Yeah. She'll live. Yeah. Hopefully she doesn't like react to the air.
Do a load of laundry while I'm there. It'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not gonna be like freezing.
Yeah, it's gonna be Florida cool. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. It's like 60, high of 60s, low 40s. You don't know what that means, but
I'm Googling it.
Okay.
60 Fahrenheit to Celsius. 15. Okay, so it's gonna be like it is here. That's the weather we're having right now.
Okay.
A jacket. So it's cool. We're wearing jackets and hoodies usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We're golden.
Yeah.
I'll be off. I will be yeah. And hopefully enjoying my week away and hopefully seeing some fall leaves. But
yes, I'm excited when you get back for you to update us on the leaf situation and how the flights go.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. It's not even that long of a flight. You know what I mean? It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, it's super short. I just don't know how we're gonna like carry all the stuff to the plane because I feel like we have 2 car seats. I'm gonna put the kids in the stroller. The 2 car seats is what's really just throwing me off, but we'll figure it out, you know? This is what we have a dad for.
It's challenging. We
He
flew
has to
with when Lila and Oaks were
they
like
were little.
2.5 and 6 months. We flew to a wedding. On the way out there, we were flying with another couple, so they helped, and they stayed because we went out
Yeah.
west. They stayed behind, and then when we were flying home, we're like, oh, they carried a lot of stuff for us. So
We need more hands.
it's exciting. But
Interesting.
we made it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm sure that Tyler will, like, when we get to the airport, like, drop me off with all the children and all the stuff,
Yeah.
and then go park the car. And so
Yeah.
I'm just like wondering how that, like, how that 10 minutes is gonna go, where I
Right.
have all the stuff and I
And
just
2
need to
kids.
strap them into the stroller
Yeah.
because I can't have them running all over, and we won't be able to move
No.
anywhere without his help. So
No. And are you sitting 2 and 2 or 3 and 1?
okay, we're sitting. Well, Coco is young enough to sit lap.
Okay. So you have a row of 3.
Tyler, the 4 of us in a row, basically.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Because Tyler, I was like, should we buy a seat for Coco and put her in the car seat?
Yeah.
He opted no. He said, just we'll sit her on our lap. It could go terribly, and she'll be like all in Kit's space, and then Kit will be upset, and they'll be fighting. Because I imagine Kit will just watch the iPad, but
Yeah.
but it is also Coco's nap time. So this could also, like, it could be great and she might fall right asleep, or it could be terrible because she'll be cranky. So
We'll find
she's
out.
not usually the cranky one. So we'll see.
No, you're going to be fine. Well,
we'll get
good
there
luck.
either way. And yeah, thank you.
All right, should we dive in?
Today we have some, like, in the news stories.
Okay. Tell me what's in
You
the
ready?
news. Yep.
I want to just get your opinion on some things. So
Fill me in. James keeps sending me stories, so I got to send them to you.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
please do.
They're like
You
sports
could just
news
tell James to
stories.
send them right to me.
Yeah, okay.
Skip the middleman.
Okay.
Okay. I have to ask first, like, in Canada, do you all have a lot of, like, self-checkouts happening?
Yes. Oh, yeah, everywhere.
So do you also, like, do they have self-checkout plus you could choose to, like, go in a service lane with a cashier?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can choose for the most part.
It's what?
You can choose.
Oh, you can choose.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Most places are like that, but I feel like a lot of them are leaning even more towards, like, the self checkout, and so they have, like, way less options for, checking out
A lot
with
of
a
places
person.
only have one, maybe.
And so they're, like, really trying to, like, push you to the self checkouts.
Yeah.
But there's an article that says retailers appear to be facing a self checkout reckoning. So retailers hope to save big on labor costs by introducing self-checkout lanes. Recent moves from the biggest retailers suggest it's proving harder than expected. What are your thoughts? Like, what do you think the biggest challenges are from a cost perspective for the self-checkout? Where are they losing money?
Theft.
Just from your experience. Theft. Big one.
It's the biggest one, especially with groceries, because they just lie about... The technology is getting better now. Like, the Walmart ones now have video cameras. So if you, like, put your bananas on or you put your, like, expensive food on the thing and you type in bananas, they can see that it's not bananas. It's, sweet potatoes or something. Yeah. That was a big one for a long time, is people just putting the cheapest versions even of the produce in.
Wow.
They have a lot of video camera, and then now they get, like, your, like, facial recognition as well. So I definitely say theft is a big one. What else would it be though?
Like, more like the labor cost savings is not as much as people thought it would be, because people need so much help getting checked out.
Yes, there's always someone standing there, because these machines are so dang sensitive that if you take it off, 1 second too soon, or then it flashes that it needs a person, right?
Yeah, and, like, I was at Walmart a few weeks ago, and literally every 5 seconds it was telling me I needed a person, and then there's only one person there, and everyone needs a person.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is really frustrating.
I will only do self-checkout if I have, like, under 10 things, you know? And
Yeah.
usually if it's just like packaged things where I'm just scanning a barcode, I
Yeah.
do not know how people do a full grocery
Grocery
shop
haul.
at self-checkout. Like, absolutely not. You can't pay me enough to do that. It takes 3 times as long. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. So it says now retailers, including Costco, Walmart, and Kroger, are rethinking some of their self-checkout strategies. Some are finding they still need employees to combat theft, assist with purchases, review IDs, and check receipts.
Yeah.
Costco, for example, has started asking staff to check membership cards as well as assist with scanning items. So now,
Right.
like, there's self-checkout, but the
Yeah.
store worker's doing it. So it's like, sure, maybe they can do it a little faster, but faster than me. But that's
Mhm.
basically just me back in the lane with
I
the
know.
person, you know?
We just got a new Costco. They just built a new one and it's massive. And it had a few self-checkouts. And there's still 2 people there managing the self-checkout.
Yeah.
But you have to scan your membership card. But I guess you could be lying. Like, it could just not be your card. I think that would
That's what they're
be,
saying is that
yeah,
people are sharing memberships. And so now they're
right,
having staff to like check memberships too,
right.
because that's where they make a bulk of their money
Yeah,
is through those membership fees, not necessarily, they're not making as much off of each individual
of
grocery haul,
course.
you know?
That's the business model, you know?
That's the model.
Yeah,
So similar to Netflix, now that they
yeah.
don't have like their people are at self checkout, like
Don't get me
now
started
people
on
are
Netflix.
sharing
Yeah.
membership accounts. So
My father-in-law, he will never ever go to the self-checkout. He will always go to the person because he
yeah,
has a real issue with how they're trying to cut jobs, essentially.
yeah.
When we go to like a fast food restaurant, I do not want to talk to a human being. So I would rather type my order in on the screen, especially
Hmm.
because Lila doesn't like ketchup on her burger. You know what I mean? So I have to do a modification and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I have always been team kiosk at a fast food place. It's to be 10 items or less, but I also thought like when I know, for example, when McDonald's went to a lot of the self-serve kiosk, they put a lot more staff in the kitchen because they had to crank out orders
Wow.
faster.
Yeah.
Because now with the introduction, especially through COVID, of Uber Eats, DoorDash, all this, they are getting like such a higher volume of orders at any given time that they need to have more people in the kitchen. So it's not like they cut
Hmm.
jobs, they just move them
Right.
in. I don't
They
think
just,
obviously the same can be said for Walmart, which would probably have, our Walmart has probably 20 to 24 self-checkouts with maybe 2 people manning them, or not,
wow.
that's not the right word, patriarchy talking, like supervising them, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
obviously Walmart is trying to cut labor.
Yeah. Then it says like that Walmart said last week it was pulling self-checkout from at least stores in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and replacing lanes with traditional staff registers. They said
Mm-hmm.
they will not be pulling it from all stores, but
Right.
maybe this is like a
Testing
reverse
again.
test site. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
let's test the other model again and have something to compare contrast
Yeah.
because right now they have the
I
hybrid.
miss like when self checkouts were first introduced and they were for 15 items or less, you know? It
Right,
was supposed to
right.
be an express checkout
Type of
process, you know?
situation.
You're going in,
Yeah.
you're getting butter that you forgot. And instead of having to stand in this massive line, you just go run through the self checkout. Like that's when self checkout shines. I agree that for a lot of things, like going through the lane is much more efficient
Yeah.
because those people know exactly what they're doing, like they can manage the flow even better. It's just, I don't know, I feel like
And a lot of
self-checkouts need some
time
tighter restrictions.
a lot of time I find is spent in waiting, like waiting for the person to come help you. Whereas if
Yeah.
you were at a register, like they could just put in the code or,
Yeah.
easily move through versus, oh, now I'm waiting 3-5 minutes
Yeah.
because the one
There's
person is
20 other
helping someone
people.
else and then they're helping someone
Yeah.
else and then I got to flag them down, which is like
Mm-hmm.
the introvert in me hates. I'm like,
Oh my
oh,
gosh, no.
need you
This was
again.
on
Like,
sale. This was on the
this
sale
was
shelf and it's
supposed to be me being self-sufficient and not
yeah.
having to talk to anyone, and now I have to talk to you
Yeah.
more. So it's really backfired on me.
Yeah. I am the queen though of doing the mobile order too because I don't want to talk to humans. anytime I have to do any
We
sort
don't
of
really I guess
modification,
I
I'm like,
haven't been
no.
like I guess I haven't been into a McDonald's, like into the actual McDonald's because or into a fast food place in a while because I'm not
It's
familiar
Tyler.
with like
Tyler does
checkout.
that.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with like having a checkout system. I always go through the drive-through
Drive
and
through.
they.
Right. Well,
So I didn't realize that fast food had like self-checkout too, but
it's dreamy.
okay.
I don't want to talk to people and be like, I want this and I want this to drink. No, I hate doing that. Just I don't want to talk to people. So yeah, I don't know. Theft is a huge one though, for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, and it said this in the article, like sometimes it's even like accidental, like when
Yeah.
people are scanning things, like they're missed something, they're not even doing it on purpose. We actually did that one time at Sam's Club. Like Tyler, they have this thing now at Sam's Club where you can like scan on your phone. So like as you're shopping, he's like building his cart so that like he doesn't even have to go through the checkout. He
Yes, I've
literally
seen
just like
this.
scans as he's shopping and then we go. But I guess like we put something in the cart and he forgot to scan it at some point. And so wouldn't you know, like when we're going out, it was like the one thing that they checked on the receipt. And I was like, oh my God, so embarrassing. Like we're not trying to steal this.
That's like it's a pretty trusting system, to be honest.
I know, but
I guess
I
is
mean,
there someone at the
then
door doing the receipt check?
and then
Yeah.
they're like, well, they take your receipt and then they randomly check like multiple items in your basket to like make sure you paid for all of them, and we hadn't paid for one of them, so
that's Tyler's fault.
I was so embarrassed. But okay, then we just pay for it right there. But
Yeah.
how many people are they missing that they didn't click the item? I'm sure it they catch some, but I'm sure there's a lot more that they're not catching.
You also hear this. I see lots of TikTok videos of this too, of cashiers who like they'll see someone come through and they'll make some generalized assumptions, like maybe they assume it's a single mom or someone who's like maybe struggling to like find, and they just like won't scan items. They'll be like, nope, I didn't see that case of water on the bottom of your cart, because they're like, screw the man, where they're Robin Hooding essentially.
Yeah, they're like,
nah, it's fine,
whatever,
the company can handle it. You know what I mean? They're not that invested. So if they see like they make assumptions on the customers, but usually they're trying to help someone out, oh, I didn't see that case of water, or I didn't see that can of formula, like those kinds of things.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
I don't think self-checkout is going anywhere. I just think they need to like
they need to regulate it.
Yeah, they need to like have more employees or something.
We need rules of engagement. How are we using these as a society?
Yeah.
For example, in Canada, Tim Hortons, there's a rules of engagement. If you're going through the drive-thru and you're getting food for more than 2 people, you're not going through the drive-thru, because Tim Hortons is a coffee place. So if you are getting lots of food, you're taking up too much time in the drive-thru. You should go inside.
Is this a written rule or it's just an unwritten Canadian rule?
Society? And okay. I think the exception is if you have young children, of course, because it's way too much work to get all your kids out of the car. Don't get me wrong. But if you're trying to feed your family of 6 through the Tim Hortons drive-thru, because then please go in the store. Because I'm just trying to get an ice cap, okay?
Right.
And maybe a donut.
All right, you ready for our next story?
Yeah.
Tim Cook's
daily Tim Hortons. I was like, what? No. Okay, sorry. Tim Cook's who?
Tim Cook, CEO of Apple.
Okay.
Daily routine.
Oh God, here we go. I'm ready. Here we go.
The Apple CEO who wakes up at 3:45 a.m. and reads hundreds of customer emails a day.
Oh.
Couldn't be me.
That's not the spin I thought we were going with, but okay.
Interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. He's an intensely private person, but has given some insights into his daily routine. He said he reads hundreds of emails a day, and he is the last one to leave the office. Well, Tim, we didn't need to know that part. Okay. Rude.
Means you're forcing all your employees to stay until you leave. Good job.
Wakes up at 3:45.
Okay, I wake up early. Don't get me wrong.
He said he has that early hour, he spends it however he sees fit. So it's like his freedom hour. He's not getting up to
Oh,
work
good for him
necessarily.
at 3:45. Yep.
He said the morning is yours, or should I say the early morning is yours. Once he's up, he spends about an hour reading through his emails. Cook told NBC or ABC News that he was getting 700 or 800 emails a day, and he read the majority of those back in 2014. I cannot read them all. I'd not admit to doing that, but I read an extraordinary number of them. It keeps my hands on the pulse of what customers are feeling and thinking and doing. I think that's smart.
Okay, so people are emailing him directly, or he's going into some generic Apple email bot. Either way, I'm going to send them an email about why my Apple Watch battery doesn't last more than 6 hours. So,
well, I'm sure he's read it daily for the past 15
it's
years.
like it's his series 3, but still, 4. It's a series 4. Okay. I think that it's wise to stay connected to your customer feedback. So I don't have I think that's smart given his role.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you want to be innovating, as a CEO, like, I think it's a good way to keep a pulse on things, to hear from the customers in one way or another. I mean, obviously he could probably find other ways to do that besides reading emails, but like he could probably go on Reddit or read a news article or I don't know.
Right.
But okay, I think it's a decent use of time, right? He does. Okay, this is employees too have experienced Cook's early morning emails. Tim wakes up really early and is very well capable of expecting you to reply back before the sun comes up.
Okay, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And therein lies the issue. You can work, we have been through this at Run the Clock Work. And we've kind of landed on you can work whatever hours you want to work that best suit your work style. However, do not expect anyone to respond to anything before 9 and after 5.
Yeah.
Because
those are our
work hours.
But anyone can work what hours that they want. So if you're up at 4 a.m. working, don't expect other people to be up at 4 a.m. working. Like that's not the expectation that we hold or should have. It shouldn't give other people stress that you're up working. The culture should be
that's just when you work best.
Work that early, but don't expect other people. Don't have the expectation that other people will be. So Tim, it's fine for Tim to work that early, but having the expectation that he's going to get replies that early is like,
no, not cool, buddy.
Then he goes to the gym at 5 a.m.
Okay.
He works out for like an hour or so, keeps his stress levels at bay, he says. After his workout, he goes to Starbucks.
What's his order?
Then, once he's at work, Cook hosts marathon meetings.
Ooh.
Okay, the Journal's 2014 article reported that Cook's weekly operations meetings could last 5 or 6 hours, and that he was known to relentlessly question employees.
5 or 6 hours?
Talk about your numbers, put your spreadsheets up.
No. No, thanks.
A number of us had tickets to see a Mets game one night. After hours, he was still drilling us with question after question while we were watching the clock like kids in school. I still have this vision of Tim saying, okay, next page, as he opened yet another energy bar. Needless to say, we missed the Mets game.
No.
Yikes. He also has no problem sitting in silence until he gets a suitable answer. In meetings, he's known for long, uncomfortable pauses, when all you hear is the sound of his tearing the wrapper of the energy bars he constantly eats.
This sounds like my absolute worst nightmare of a company culture. Long silences would never be me.
Long, uncomfortable silences.
No, I can't even handle a 10-second silence.
I mean, sometimes I love an uncomfortable silence, but I don't know.
No. Just sit there, not saying anything until you get the answer you want. How about you give some feedback to the answers you're getting so that we can get closer to the answers you want?
All right, and then it says Cook works long hours at the office. When he was COO, he was known for being one of the first people in the office and last people to leave. I guess that's all you have to do to like
butts and seats,
advance your career.
Yeah, just stay seated in your seat.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure he's, you know, a great CEO.
I mean,
I'm
obviously the
sure he has
company
other
is doing
qualities.
well.
Obviously, he has other qualities, but
Yeah.
says we don't know much about how he spends his evenings, but he's outdoorsy and enjoys rock climbing and cycling. So sounds like he has some hobbies, but I don't know when he
Yeah.
does them because it sounds like he works a lot.
Yeah. So this kind of, it harkens back a little bit to the other post. We talked about it last episode and we talked about the top of this
Yeah.
episode. That's a culture you can create. You can actively
Mhm.
choose to create that culture. And there are people who will do well in that culture because that kind of feeds into everything that they like to do to be validated for as being successful. They need to grind. Some people
Mhm.
are just into the grind, and
Yeah.
it's just not a place that I would ever choose to work. Obviously, I'm not applying for any jobs at Apple anytime soon. I think it's really I think as long as you are advocating for this culture of like this is what works for me and being very transparent around this is what it's like to work here and this
Mhm.
is what you can expect and this is what your opportunities are, then people can make informed decisions if they want to live like that.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, would we allow these things to happen? No. But at the end of the day, who am I to say that that's not what works best for someone? Maybe they'd rather be
Right.
a shooting star and work really, really hard for 10 years and then, not burn out. I know that's what stars do, but like do their thing and then make their money and then be good. And okay,
Yeah.
I can't take that away from someone. I just think it's
Yeah.
really dangerous to suggest that's the only way to succeed. It's not.
Right.
It's a way to succeed.
Yeah, like I want to see an equal number of stories in opposition of that. Like I feel
Right.
like there's always these stories of big CEOs like this. They wake up at 4 a.m., they do this, they are the
They
first,
meditate, they work out,
they're the
they
last out.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
Also, it's just
that's
really
fine.
I really hope
Yep.
he's going to bed at 7:45 because
I
if
know.
there's one universal truth, it's the importance of sleep for your health. I don't care what anyone says about some people only need 4 hours. Like
No,
it's
that's a very
universally
small
true
number
that
of
sleep
people.
is incredibly important to your overall health. So,
Yeah.
let's just not deny that fact.
Right. So hopefully he's sleeping, but I want to see just as many stories in the news showcasing that you can also be very successful by waking up when you want or taking your kids to school and
And then
then working a
working for
few
a few
hours,
hours.
not working on the weekend,
Yeah.
unplugging after hours, not checking your phone. Like
Yeah.
those stories do exist, but we just don't hear them as much. And so they're not as available for people to see as like a model of
Yeah.
what's possible,
Well, you know what? In a year from now, we'll be in the news talking about how we're doing it.
Perfect. Let's write an article.
Done.
All right. Ready for our last little story here?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. It says Meta's responsible, Meta being like
Facebook,
you know.
Instagram, WhatsApp.
I still sometimes forget that that's what it's called. So Meta's responsible AI team shrinks amid layoffs and restructuring, even as the company goes all in on AI.
Oh, lovely.
Isn't that interesting? Okay, so listen to this. So Meta is among the major tech companies now racing to develop new AI models and tools. That's no surprise. A few years ago, it formed a responsible AI team, which is the one that they just shrunk.
Right.
To ensure that the AI tech was fair and inclusive.
So basically like their ethics committee.
Yeah, so basically they decided if like we're going all in on AI, but we need to do some layoffs or something, or we need to cut some budgets. And so the part of the AI team that we're going to shrink is the one that makes it ethical.
I mean, are we surprised?
The one that makes it fair and inclusive. Let's remove that checks and balance because that's not as important.
Yeah. Are we surprised? I don't think we are.
Yeah. So the team at Meta, tasked with guiding the creation of AI tools that are not harmful to society, has struggled to find its footing amid shifting mandates and layoffs, even as the company races to release new AI products. So in 2020, they officially formed the Responsible AI team with about 30 members of staff. It eventually grew to around 40. It's a mix of researchers, data scientists, engineers, product managers, and policy experts, all focused on creating AI tools and models that were fair and inclusive. Over the last year, the group's numbers have dwindled, according to 5 people familiar with the company. These people asked to remain anonymous to avoid retaliation and their identities. So So they're shrinking.
Right.
That team started as a pioneering team working to get ahead of potential problems and make sure AI releases were safe and good. How do we make sure we don't break any laws or get sued again is kind of what the team was formed to do.
Yeah. I think, I think AI is, here to stay and all that stuff. And we can't deny that fact. I'm not saying we're not going to be able to, we have to move forward with AI. The fact that this is the team that they're deciding is the least valuable to me is not surprising at all, given the company that we're discussing. But it's disappointing for sure, because it's like we just keep going like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, I think AI is going to serve us well in a lot of areas. I think it's undeniable that it's going to benefit a lot of people. It's going to create more innovation. It's going to create more opportunities. Of course, we can't pretend it's not going to. It's also never going to replace human creativity, and I firmly believe that. But I think in order for it to succeed as a topic, it requires checks and balances and control factors. And for them to devalue that is, again, not surprising, but incredibly disappointing for a company that carries so much influence in the world.
Right.
They are such a monopoly on everything we use. It's disgusting. And yet they just continue to prove how little they actually value human life and continue to disregard the potential harm they can create as a company by just letting it be this lawless land.
Right. This like rogue AI, which is the last thing we need, right? I went to an event last week, and it was a like marketing and primarily for like copywriters, and so there was a lot of talk of AI because it was we were talking about like the future of copywriting. And one of the speakers, his name was Rob Tillman. There was a few people that spoke about AI in different ways, which was actually very helpful for me because I'm not someone who has played around a whole ton with things like ChatGPT. Like I have a little bit, but I haven't integrated them into like my daily life or use yet. Because I haven't found them to be super time saving or valuable. So I'm often like, when people are sharing statistics of like, oh, they, cut this project time by 75% because they were using AI. And I'm like, okay, but how? Like show me the how, because I don't quite understand how that's happening. And one of the things that he was talking about is like supervised versus unsupervised AI, right? So ChatGPT would be an unsupervised AI because it's just sourced by all of the input from on the internet, basically, right?
Terrifying.
And so that he compared it, he said like AI is like a child, and right now it just has like a whole ton of different parents. Like it's like if you had a kid and then you let everyone in the world just parent them, like how would that turn out? Like everyone has different thoughts, beliefs, morals, experiences, and so everything that you're sourcing is from all these different people. And so if we think about like Pareto, like Pareto's law, like there's like this 80-20, well, we're getting the 80%, like, and when you ask it something, the response is constantly changing because the input is constantly changing because people on the internet are constantly
Putting
giving
more
it
information on the
new
internet.
things. Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's constantly getting new information. So something that and it's like growing at this very rapid pace as well, right? So something you could ask ChatGPT the same prompt today and ask it again the same prompt in 3 months, and you're going to get a completely different answer
Mhm.
because it's this unsupervised, you know, information bank, like where it's
Yeah.
getting its information versus like a supervised AI, which is something that you would basically build and
Yeah.
give it only specific information. And that obviously is a little bit more useful, valuable,
Mhm.
safe, right? Like I'm not getting my responses from, you know, Joe Schmo who doesn't know anything about this type of thing. So it was
Mhm.
just like a really simple breakdown for someone like me who's like, why isn't this useful? Like, why can't I get a good response out of this? Or why are people so threatened by this when I just seem to get trash out of it? You
Yeah.
know, like, so I guess the people that are using it well are using more supervised, you know, AI tools, or they're building their own supervised AI tools, which I think is, you know, a valuable use in the future, is like building something for your framework or using, you know, a specific expert's input, you know, be like not just sourcing from the 80% of our
Yeah.
society, which doesn't know shit about shit.
Right.
And then you're trusting it and just spitting that back out into the
Yeah.
world. And then it just becomes a big dumpster fire for everyone. So yeah, I think it's, I mean, I obviously don't know what they're building at Meta, but it's disappointing, like you said, it's disappointing to see that like the department that we're slimming down is the one that keeps the thing in check and keeps it fair and inclusive, because the fact of the matter is when you have a society who is racist or um you know, patriarchal or white supremacist or like
Mhm.
all of these things, that's what's
Misogynistic.
going to
Yeah.
that's what the AI will spit out, right?
Mhm.
It's not like, if it's just a mirror of our society. So it's honestly a little bit scary to think that it would, you know, that people are not more interested in keeping these like fair and inclusive pieces of the AI puzzle in place. Because it's like, well, we're not a really fair and inclusive society as a whole. So it's just going to mirror back what we're giving it, you know?
Yeah.
Which is like, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's not
I
going to
know.
help us
It's like I'm
improve.
not surprised at all because of who it is, but this is why I'm not that invested in it, because it AI as a whole, because it's not really in line with my values or goals. So, I mean, it's very easy for me to be like over here, good for you. I'm just going to continue ignoring it. You know, part of that is because I'm also not an early adopter of things, you know. I'm
Mm.
usually in the
Mhm.
majority, like late majority usually before I get on board with things. So, by the time I get on board with AI, a lot of this stuff's already going to be sorted out. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you early adopters, you
You
get through
figure it
the
out.
messy, figure it out. And when you're ready, then I'll start
Let me
using it.
know. Let me
Yeah.
know how to use it when we're
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also don't really mess around with Facebook anymore. So I'm like, okay, cool. Good for you. Like, who's using the AI on Facebook? Boomers?
That's why I don't know what they're creating,
Yeah.
but
I'm
they're
curious
creating
to see what they're
something.
going to come out with for sure.
Yeah.
Because I know
Yep.
Meta is also Instagram and all that stuff, but it's not TikTok. And that's where the future is in social media.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. They're doing something.
yep.
I don't know what it is.
Yep.
And I will not
Alrighty.
be creating it, but I can
Mm-mm.
see the value for sure. I think we all need to be aware. I think it will help like with productivity, efficiency of certain things, but I think we have to be really mindful of how we're using it. Like in this
Yes.
case, recognizing that an unsupervised AI is not a good place to get information, not a good
Right.
place to, you know,
Cut
create
corners.
content from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Those aren't the corners
So,
you want to be cutting, my friend.
no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll
Well,
see.
that's a wrap. That's all I
Okay.
got.
Well, you
We'll
enjoy
be
your
back with
vacation.
Thank you. We'll be back next week with more stories.
Yep.
And if you found this episode interesting, valuable, entertaining, please share it with a friend and follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts so that you get notified when the next one pops out like a baby.
Mhm.
As well as if you'd like to submit a story, you can go to
Yes.
dearworkwives.com. We need your stories because we like to talk about you
Yeah.
anonymously, of course, but go to dearworkwives.com, submit a story, just be nice, succinct. We just need a little bit of information about what's going on, and we can either give you some advice or we can just
Give you advice you didn't ask
commiserate
for.
with you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
So, all right.
Okay.
See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.